Have you ever abandoned something on a thrift store shelf because you didn't think it had potential? Or maybe something like the theme of the decade it was the most popular in kind of turned you off and you just couldn't see the after? Well, today's video, we're talking apples. Maybe apples will make a comeback like the geese and the ducks have, but not for my personal taste. But let me tell you, when you see the before and afters of these, I'm hoping you'll be inspired to run to the thrift store. Let's get started. This first thrifty find is a little wall shelf that I just was drawn to immediately. It's only $4.99, so it's my little price tag here. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. I immediately noticed a little bit of damage right here on the top part. Okay, so I'm going to see what I can do about that. And then I should easily be able to pop these little apples off. One of the first things I'm going to go ahead and do is try to pop this off. I'm going to use just a little putty knife, because this is pretty thin wood. And what happened here, if I turn it on the side, you can kind of see the wood's a little bit warped there. Now, I don't mind a little rustic look, but that's not going to last very long. So if I can pop out the little nails or staples that are holding in the top, I might can just reposition a little bit, put some fresh glue in it, and then it would just be a little warped, but not completely detached. So I'm going to kind of weave that in here, see if I can pop that off without doing any major damage. See how that works. As you mess with more things like this, you do kind of learn how things are built and made, what you might get away with. So that was actually pretty easy. So that little top piece came right off and exposing the top there. All right, first I'll test it with these pliers and see how easy they might pull out. Okay, that was pretty easy. So I got one of the little pieces out there. Now we'll do the rest. And this will just move this out of our way. Now, yes, that's how it was originally built, but technically I don't need those. I just need a little bit of glue. This is now free and clear. Let's double check right here that there are no nails. That's good. Okay, the next thing, modification I know I want to make on this one is to take these apples off. Get these thinner wire cutters in there and do a little cut without cutting the grid. Well, that was pretty easy. Okay, let's pull that back. So it's really just wire that was going into, these look like they're made out of some ceramic or something along those lines. All right, there we go. So apple is off. Yeah, they are some kind of ceramic or something like that. Okay, let's do the other one. Get it open. It looks like whenever this one was wrapped, it might have bent the wire a little bit, moved it around. So we'll have to see if we can kind of fix that a little bit. That one came right out. So there's some apples. And these won't go to waste. I'll put these in the donation pile and take them right back to where I got this from in case somebody else is looking for that. Next step, now that I have all the pieces, I'm just going to take a warm rag and wipe all this down, just kind of any grime or growtiness, and then we'll come back, let that dry, and then do a decorative paint finish. It's wiped down. One other thing I did notice, I forgot to remove these that attach to the back. We won't need these little staples or nails that are sticking out of the back of this piece. I need to remove that right quick. And also, if I could, I would remove this, but it's not possible. And then I also forgot to mention the little D-ring type hangers on the back. It's missing one. Looks like just maybe the wood got weak. So I'll have to replace those later. I'm not going to worry about that just right this second. Okay, there's one. So I'm just pinching it with there, and I'm kind of bracing it and rolling that nail or staple out. And that was pretty easy. So all three of those are now removed. I'm using the color Thicket by Dixie Belle. This is just a chalk mineral paint. You can use any paint you like to create a wash. Then I have a mister bottle, regular water in it. So I'm going to take a little bit of paint out of here. Very, very pretty green color. It's going to be so pretty. I love the color of the stain, and it's still going to show through in some places, but I think that this green will really complement and kind of give it an updated look. Such a pretty color. Do you see blue or do you see green? I immediately see like a green gray, but you might see a little bit of blue as well. All right, a little bit of this will go a long way because we're adding a little bit of water, and there is no right recipe for a color wash. It just depends on how opaque you want your color to be. The more water you add, the thinner it gets. This is a water-based paint, so you really can't mess it up. It's just going to affect the color a little bit. So if you are mixing or doing a bigger piece of something, you'd want to keep that in mind. I'm just going to kind of see what the consistency of this is. And I'm going to add a little bit more water. So it kind of becomes a color wash, depending on the color. Sometimes it'll look like stain, because if you're doing a brown color wash or a gray color wash, that'll immediately look like stain. If you're doing white, it'll look like what we know as a white wash. And so this is technically a thicket wash. So I'll brush this wash right over this top piece. And then I will get a baby wipe and we'll just wipe back the excess, kind of treating this more like a stain. You can let this dry in between if you're going for more of a stained look, but you do want to build on the color. You certainly can do that. But I really wanted to rub a little bit more off to let some more of that wood grain show. And I'm loving the way that looks. What do you think? Another thing to note when you're working with color wash is that it will continue to kind of change color just like paint color does. And so you want to give it some time to soak into whatever wood you're working on. This piece here has some mixed wood finishes. Some of the outside finish is more rough and it's soaking up the color wash more because that wood is more porous when it's rough. And so inside the little cabinets and in the top section under that top piece, they're a little bit more slick, so they're not taking the color wash the same. It's not adhering the same. So I'm just kind of being mindful of that as I work through. I won't really make a final determination of how many coats until it's given some time to dry. I just want to make sure that the finishes are kind of matching. Another thing is, as I'm working on the front, I'm not going to paint this towel bar down here. I'm actually going to leave it the stain look. And then I'm going to go back and actually wipe the little knobs off of the cabinet doors. I just really love, since I'm leaving it stained on the inside, and some of the stain is showing through as I'm wiping off the color wash. I think that'll make a really pretty end finish. All right, and now we've got to get this top piece attached. Before I do that, I'll give it a little dry. And then I'm using Tight Bond Quick and Thick. And I'm just going to put very thin line of wood glue there on the top piece. I just turned it upside down to do this, to line it up really nicely. And once I lay that piece on there, I'll turn it upside down and put some weights on it and let it dry and cure off to the side. Should be almost good as new. Lastly, I'm skipping this step, but you can certainly apply a top protective coat if you would like. Wow, what a makeover. And as a reminder, here's that before. Let's just take it in. It is so satisfying to have a vision for what something could look like and to see it really come to life. Now I can't wait for you to see the second makeover. Let's look at this little thrifty find. It was only 75 cents. Little hooks on it, little apple that we're going to get rid of. Again, apples are your thing. That's okay. But when I see a piece like this, I immediately think I could update this and make it more my style or just kind of modernize it a little bit. That price tag off because that'll have to come off. And then we'll just give it a little wipe down just to get, there's just a little bit of dust on it. It's not filthy. I would love to know what you would use this tiny little hook board for. Give me all the ideas because I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put it just yet. I will hopefully give you a creative idea at the end for where I think I'm going to use it, and it's kind of a creative use thing. So hang tight for that. I'm going to use a color called Coffee Bean, which is like a black brown. That'll be kind of like a primer or a base coat, essentially. So you could use some kind of primer if you want to. It's just going to kind of help, like I said, black out that design. So a nice, healthy little coat there without getting any on the stained wood. Okay, this is a good enough coat for what I'm needing it for purpose-wise. Just get my brush strokes right. Thrift flips are so adventurous because you never know where they're going to go, how they're going to turn out. It's a fun, creative process for sure. Now that the coffee bean color is dry, I'm going to use a couple coats of Dixie Belle's drop cloth, which is just a creamy vintage white. Get the first layer on right over the coffee bean. Now, you may be wondering why I did the coffee bean color. I want to explain again that when you are covering up designs and things like that, it's good to put a darker color over it to help lay a good foundation for especially how I'm using a brighter color like this. Okay, let's dry this, and then we'll put on a second coat of the drop cloth color. I haven't seen this container. It is so well loved and well used. I am at the bottom of it, as you may have heard me mention in my stenciling video last week, where I was doing a couple of farmhouse signs. I'm at the bottom of the barrel on that one, but it is such a good paint. Let's get this dry and we'll come back and I'll show you what's going to go on here. A little bit of this drop cloth color, and I'm going to come in a couple spots and sporadically place it down. I'm trying not to really overthink it much. And then I'm going to blend it a little bit with my sander once it dries. It's dry enough, I should be able just to run this sander right over it. Just help it kind of blend in, because I'm not wanting it to look freshly painted, like I said. This is a good technique for doing that. And I certainly did not want to cover up the sweet stained look. Let's just see how pretty that looks whenever you just kind of blend it in. Now that I have the foundation looking the way I like, it's so pretty, I am using a stamp. Now, look, there are so many different things you could do right here. I'm sure you're thinking of a lot of ideas as you're watching. I'm going to put this on a stamping block. This is just an acrylic stamping block. And then I'm using StazOn's Jet Black ink for this one. I'm going to apply the ink straight to the ink pad like this. I'm going to try to stay away from some of the places at the top. Well, I'm going to turn this over and hopefully it's staying on there. I don't want it to fall. All right, I'm going to get it lined up like that. I'm going to give it nice, firm pressure. And then for the reveal. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Now let me surprise you with a fun idea for how to hang this. Obviously, it has these little, I think these are called keyholes. I'm not really sure. Looks like this was originally $3.99. So I got a deal. I'm going to peel that off here. But I thought it'd be really fun because there's a place in my studio I'm considering using this, and it's metal. So I have some magnets just for something a little different. And let me go ahead and sand this excess paint on the back off. Clean that up a little bit. That's better. Okay. But for the magnets, I'm sure little strips would be better, but I can't find my strips. So we're going to roll with this and just make it fun. And I can always pop them off if I want to. I think for how heavy this one is and just the quality of magnets that these are, I'm going to put 4 just like this to give me some good holding strength. I'm going to use a little bit of E6000 plus. Make sure that's coming out okay. Put a little bit of glue on one side. And I just think this is going to be really fun. So I'll be sure to show it to you hanging up. But I would love to know what you would use a little hook like this for. Obviously, little keys would be great. There's got to be some other things that would be precious too. I guess on the side of your refrigerator, if it was magnetic, you could put your measuring spoons for a quick grab. I have those on an old mug holder currently right now. I need to let this cure for a little while, and then we can pop it and see how it does on my little metal cabinet. What a sweet makeover. Here's another reminder about that before. I'm definitely liking this one a lot more than the apple, and I still need your creative ideas on where I could use this one. I did end up doing the magnets on the back, but I can also pop those off and hang it somewhere. But I just thought it'd be kind of fun because I had a couple spots that had metal on them, and that would work really well. And that's just a fun little idea for you if you find some small decor like this too. All right, give me all your ideas. I sure am glad you were here today, hanging out while I breathe some new life into these thrifty finds. And I hope when you're in your local thrift stores, you'll find some things and think about today's video and say, that has potential. Be sure to turn on that notification bell because it'll let you know when there's a new creative episode waiting for you to enjoy. Also, don't forget, you're amazing and you're creative. Have a blessed day. See you next time.